Very nice. All right, guys. Well, it's on the dot right now. So I think that I will go ahead and start and share my screen. But before that, I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Laura Bennegadi, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of the ArtBound Initiative program. So ArtBound Initiative is a global internship program that connects students and recent grads with companies in the creative industries for internships. So that's the reason why we're able to provide you some good input today, because we've actually, always are in touch with recruiters and have a pretty good idea of what's happening right now in the field. So let me share my screen, and if Kanya, if you can let me know if you guys can see it, that'd be awesome.
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect. All right, very cool. So thank you all for tuning in. Today, what we're going to talk about is really the impact of the COVID-19 crisis on recruitment in the creative industries. And this webinar is going to have two objectives, quite simple. First one is understand what's happening in the companies right now and how does it impact their recruitment. Are there going to be jobs available in the next few months, even year? And also the second thing is, based on that impact, what are our recommendations for you guys who are students or about to graduate, or even who have already graduated, trying to identify some best practices to land opportunities. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about just a survey that we did, so that this information is not coming out of nowhere. We have a lot of partners, as I mentioned, with ArtBound Initiative, because we work with over 150 companies in the creative industries worldwide. And so we send them a survey to ask them what's going on. How did they got impacted? What is the state of the business? And 61 companies got back to us to share with us their findings. So what I'm gonna do in those first 3 slides is I'm just gonna tell you about the survey really quickly, so that you know who we talk to. I'll be quick and not too analytical, I promise. So the first thing you can see here are the respondents. So who answered our survey? Those are mainly people from C-level, which are CEO, COO, CFO, all the top level management, senior management, HR, and mid-level management. So you can see that those are people in those companies that actually know what's going on in terms of recruitment and the business. In terms of company locations, most of our internships that we offer are in New York, Berlin, London, and Hong Kong. That's why you're noticing those cities here. And most of them who actually answered are in the US, in New York, but also a lot of them in Europe. In terms of the industries and the companies that we've targeted, most of them are coming from the advertising, creative, and branding industries. We've got also a lot of companies from film and TV, visual arts, performing arts, and then the rest is divided between fashion, music, and interior design and architecture. So it's a pretty well-rounded survey in terms of the industries. And then in terms of company size, a lot of the companies that we work with are less than 100 employees. So you can see that the majority of them are less than 100 employees. And then you've got some of them that are 251 plus. And usually those companies have offices kind of all over. So the first question that we asked the companies, which I think you'd find interesting, is what is the main source for recruitment? Okay, so we know, of course, that companies recruit from different places and different areas, but where do they mainly recruit people from? So shocker, in the creative field, you can see that most of them are actually recruiting, 60% of them are recruiting mainly from inner network and referrals. What do I mean when I say inner network and referrals? It's basically like, oh, my nephew is applying for an internship, or like this friend of friend is looking for a junior position. Do you have something available? Or like one colleague wants to move to another job. So it's basically, people like us, for example, ArtBound Initiative, because we have direct contacts with the hiring manager. So we're putting resume on top of the pile compared to others. So most of the companies are recruiting through people that they actually know, or referrals from people that they know. And then the second source is through online job posting. 30% of the companies are recruiting mainly from online job postings. So that's pretty good. I honestly thought that it would be less. I thought it would be even more from networks and referrals. And then for the rest, you can see that it's cold applications. So cold applications is like, let's say you want to intern for, I don't know, for CBS channel in the US, right? There's no positions advertised, but you still email them telling them that you want to work for them, and magically they have a position open and then they hire you. And then recruiting agencies are usually staffing agencies that work with companies to give them freelancers and also full-time people based on their needs. So the second thing that we asked them is what's going on right now? You know, what has happened in the past few months? Because I'm sure you guys have heard a lot of people getting laid off, a lot of people getting furloughed. So we thought, wow, there must be a massive spike of job applications right now for companies. But actually, surprisingly, most of the companies said, almost 50% of the companies said that they saw a decrease in job applicants. So that's interesting because maybe it's because of the fact that, you know, they weren't really posting any jobs, but it's also maybe because we all think collectively that there are no jobs, so people are not applying. And then we asked them about the quality in terms of job applications, and most of them said that there was not a change in that. So let's get to the interesting info now, which is basically what is going to be the impact of COVID-19 and how long is it going to be impacted? So we've asked the companies to tell us, how long do you think your recruitment is going to be directly impacted by the COVID-19 crisis? And it's not optimistic, guys. You can see here that 81% of the companies are saying it's going to be impacting 6 months or plus, with 30% of them saying 12 months plus. So that's not good for us. And that's also the reason why we want to try to help you to navigate this. We asked them as well a question that might seem similar for you guys, but it's actually not. We asked them how many months do they feel like it will be impacted even after the lockdown and restrictions. So I know most of you guys are calling us from Australia and the UK due to this current time zone that we're on. So, you know, I know that in Australia and the UK, there's different lockdown policies and stuff like that, but we asked them basically, when things are back to business, when people are back in offices, still how long will your recruitment be impacted? And you can see here that 67% of the companies still said, even after everybody's back in the office, it will still be 6 months or more in terms of recruitment and how it's going to be impacted. And you can see here with like 20% of them saying 1 year plus. So based on that, what are our recommendations? Okay, so we're seeing that number one, the companies are hiring, at least around 60% of them are hiring mainly through network, okay, and referrals. And then you can see that right now there has been a decrease of job applications, right? So what should you guys be doing at this exact moment? My advice to you is, knowing that recruitment is going to become more competitive, it's time for you right now to be strengthening your professional network, because that is the best way for you to get access to opportunities. Specifically, if there's very little opportunities, then your best foot forward is to actually start creating those connections. So how to do that? I kind of compiled it in 4 main points. And then after the slide, you guys can stop me for some questions, and Kanya will read your questions out loud. So feel free to ask any questions you have on the slide. So first thing I want to tell you is, knowing that right now there's a decrease of job applications, basically hiring managers and recruiters are probably the less busy they're ever been, okay? First of all, nobody's commuting to work right now. We're all kind of still working a bit remote, so we've got more time during the day. And also, things are not busy anymore, right? Like recruitment has been really, you know, the business has been impacted, except if you're Zoom or if you're like Netflix or Amazon or some of those companies. If you're not those companies, most likely your business has been impacted. So that means that recruiters have more time on their hands because they're not recruiting at the moment too much. So it's actually the best moment for you to get in front of their eyes. So what I would do if I were you guys is I would keep contacting the companies and the recruiters to try to position yourself for jobs, okay? So do your due diligence work, okay? Try to find out like, who are the best people that you can target. Let's say you wanna work at, I don't know, Ogilvy, right? A big advertising agency. I saw a lot of you guys are from the design background. Try to figure out who are the recruiters at Ogilvy who are specialized for junior positions, right? Or the hiring managers that are specialized in junior positions. How can you find that out? Usually on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like a great source for people to actually be detective and like find out the right info. So try to find the right person to contact. In general, it's always better to find like the right people as opposed to sending an email to the info at, or like the, you know, the info at company.com or the HR at company.com. That's never going to leave you to, you know, it's going to be complicated for you to actually get someone to see that email, as opposed that if you are able to kind of figure out who the right person is on LinkedIn, you can even connect with them directly on LinkedIn. So connect with the companies that you're trying to work for, and keep it real. Acknowledge the situation. You know, just tell them like, hey guys, you know, I know that the business might be impacted at the moment and you might not be recruiting, but I still wanted to let you know how you know, excited I am about a potential opportunity at your company. I'm adding here my resume and my book or my portfolio if you're creative. You know, would you have 20 minutes this week or the next for an informational interview to hear a bit more about potential opportunities? You've got literally nothing to lose than to do that. And something that's important is to follow up, okay? A lot of students and recent grads come back to me every time during the program, and they tell me, oh, Laura, like I emailed this company, but they never got back to me, so they're unresponsive. And I'm like, oh, how many times did you email them? And they tell me like once. Okay, nobody's gonna ever reply you on your first email. I mean, maybe some people, but believe me, part of my job is to connect with companies on a daily basis, right? And finding new partners for our program. Nobody ever answers me on the first email. You have to follow up. You have to follow up 1 week later, and then maybe 2 weeks later again. And only after you send 3 emails, you can consider that thing that people were unresponsive, not before. People will appreciate your drive, okay, if you're following up with them, so long as you don't harass. Obviously, there's a fine line, which I can answer if you guys have questions about this. And then don't forget that it's all interconnected, okay? Those industries that you're working in, they're very small. Whether you're in design, in fashion, in interior design, in film, everybody knows everyone. So if I'm recruiting for my company, but I don't have a job, and you send me your resume and I think you have a good profile, if I know my colleague over there in this company is recruiting, then of course I'm going to share that with them, because right now it's such a big crisis that we're all in it together and we're all trying to help each other. Believe me, people want you to have jobs right now. Like, it's in our interest. So people will share your profile. So that's number one. Keep contacting and expanding your network. The second thing is target your school network, okay? That's like a gold mine for you guys. And I'm sure if there are any university staff on this call, they'll agree. Your school is much more than just a degree, okay? You've got so much networking you can do in your school alone with your professors, for example, because if you are a professor at a university level, that means that you've got either extensive experience in the industry or extensive knowledge. So those are people that you should connect with and ask maybe for a meeting for like 20 minutes, same thing. Hey, you know, I would love to chat with you for about 20 minutes and just hear a bit more about how you got to where you are, and get some strategic input on how to navigate this crisis, because I really want to launch my career in this industry. That's a great email or a great like message that you can send to professors, because if you put it about them, if you tell them, I want to hear about you, about how you got to where you are, believe me, people will be more inclined to meet with you, specifically potential mentors, okay? People love talking about themselves. It's a natural thing. So if you tell them, let's talk about you, they will meet with you. If you tell them, let's talk about me, they probably will not have time. So do not forget, as you network with people, always put it about the other person. So professors is number one. Go check out now the bios of your professors on your school website. I'm sure you will see big shots and people that actually worked in studios that you probably, or studios or companies that you're dreaming of working for. So maybe those are people that you can connect with, develop a relationship, and potentially they might be able to introduce you to some of their colleagues or help you because they like you and they appreciate your drive. You should do the same for alumni. Alumni is also a gold mine for you. Who are the people who basically graduated from the same degree than you, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You can do a LinkedIn search. LinkedIn has a really awesome feature where you can actually do a research by school and also by industry. So try to see who they are, who are the big shots among them. Connect with your school, ask them by any chance if they have an alumni department, possibly. Or if they don't, you can even ask some of your professors, like, how do you think the best way is to connect with alumni? And if not, just connect with them on LinkedIn. There is somehow a sense of solidarity between people that are from the same school. So you can do the same email then for the professors, you know, hey, I know you've been at this, you're an alumni, I'm also just graduating of this school, and I've read a lot about you online and would love to hear more about how you got to where you are and get some strategic input on the next steps in my career as I'm trying to navigate this crisis. You know, you can kind of explain, even putting the COVID-19 crisis, I think is something that you could just kind of mention to put back some context. So bottom line is target your school. With your school alone, you can have like at least 10 or 15 connections in your industry if you dig deeper. Third thing is join professional associations, membership-based organizations or collective. So for example, if you're a designer, okay, there's a lot of like design associations, whether they're national, whether they're private, as basically like platforms that create a lot of events and mentorship opportunities. That's golden for you. And I'm saying design, but actually you have that in fashion, you have that in film, you have that in arts, you have that in all of the creative industries. So my advice to you is, after you finish this webinar, based on how late it is for you, do some research about your own industry and what's out there, and try to think if you can, try to see if you can join some of those associations. Some of them have a fee for a membership fee, but a lot of them have discounted students memberships. And honestly, you can ask right now, a lot of companies are offering discounts for COVID-19. You can tell them like, hey, listen, I really want to join your association, but I'm in a difficult situation right now with, you know, the COVID-19 impacted my job, for example. I was wondering if you have any discounts for young professionals like me. If you're able to join those associations, you can gain access right away to their network, because they have a lot of people that are in your field, a lot of mentors, and then you utilize that, right? Ask them if you can get in touch with people that are in the network. That's like a great way to start gaining more contacts in the field. And then finally, before I stop it really quickly for a Q&A, so feel free to add some questions, don't forget about your professional network through your friends and family. I mean, that's something that a lot of people forget. You might not have access to it. Maybe some of you are like first generation college students in your family. Maybe some of you have families that have like absolutely no network in the field, but it's always worth to ask. And also you have a lot of friends at school, right? So start telling them like, hey, I want to work in fashion. You know, do you know anybody that's in the industry right now? I'm trying to talk to as many professionals as I can to really gain a better understanding of the industry. And by doing that, honestly, if you try it, you'd be surprised. I'm sure you can get at least 2 or 3 contacts just by asking around to see if people can get on informational interviews with you. So that's my first main recos on the findings. There's another slide happening. There's a bunch of other slides happening after that, but let me stop it now just for a few minutes. Kenya, do we have any questions?
Yes, there are 2 questions right now. So there's one from Gigi asking, under current circumstances, will it be realistic to apply for internships in countries you're not based in?
So for international internships, you mean? So I definitely say for international internships, and I can talk about it really well because that's what we do with our program. Right now, what we're doing on our end is we're doing internships that are starting only in the late fall for the Northern Hemisphere, basically around like October, November, which is summer, for example, in Australia, and also for 2021. I definitely think it's better to wait for another few months, because right now there's no travel happening anyway, and a lot of offices are still working remotely. So international internships is not going to be a thing, in my opinion, at least until October, November. And again, we're monitoring the situation, right? Nobody can know what's happening. But if you're thinking of applying for an international internship, definitely do it in advance, because it takes about 6 months to organize, specifically when you're going abroad. I hope that answers the question.
Great. There's one from Kampara. What are good professional associations or organizations in the field of advertising / publishing in London and New York?
So I don't want to give you misinformation on that. I'm not sure. I know that there's one called I think one circle, or I think it's like, yeah, I think it's like One Circle in the US. I think it's called One Circle for Creativity. It's a very, very cool network for like people in advertising. I'm not sure about publishing though. And for London, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know like the specifics of all of those industries in terms of professional resources. But what I can tell you is I think it's a quick research that you can do and that you'll find pretty easily. What I would type into the Google, what I would type in on Google is probably like associations, you know, design associations, London, or advertising associations or advertising memberships in London. Try to find those types of organizations, and also great questions for your school as well. Talk to professors, talk to people that are in the advertising industry that can tell you like, okay, you know, I'm a member of this club or this organization, and it's great. So I think you can both do the research on your end and also start gathering feedback from people that are around you as well in the field.
Great. Hope that answered the question, Kampara. There's one from Hamish asking, I've been applying for junior designer positions for the past 8 to 9 months, but due to COVID, there are no new positions coming out. Would you suggest to go through the recruiters or just be patient and waiting for more positions to come out?
I think don't be patient, because you know I think like you need to keep applying. Definitely you can try to go through recruiters. That's a good idea to pursue. You know, there's other ways to kind of get jobs. So recruiters is one. Like our program, for example, also offer, like, you know, we do offer internship opportunities, not really job opportunities. So I think maybe if you're targeting only junior opportunities, maybe go through recruiters and keep applying, because in any case, right now what's going to happen is recruiters are going to have your book and you're going to have your work and your resume. They're going to have that, and as soon as an opportunity is going to open, they might be in touch with you. So my advice to you is keep applying, and also keep following up and touching base with those recruiters that you might have connected with 6 months ago. Are you still in touch with them? If not, you should definitely schedule like a follow-up email or something, or even a call to kind of touch base and understand, you know, when is the next, you know, if there are any perspectives of, you know, junior positions that might be available in the fall or in the spring. Hope that answers it. Kenya, should I go on with the next slide, and then we can keep answering questions on the next slide?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, let's do that, just so that I can keep going a bit, because I'm sure maybe some of the stuff that I'm going to say might answer some of your questions, but keep asking them. We're going to compile them all. So the second reco that I have for you guys is, we've seen that 30% of the companies are recruiting through job posting, online postings, basically. So right now, I'm guessing like where most of us are staying home as much as possible, not going out and about too much. So we've all got extra time on our hands. So what you should be doing is take that time to stand apart from the crowd. The recruitment is going to be super competitive. So right now it is the moment for you to improve your application materials and your online presence. So first thing is, what you should be doing after this call, not immediately after this webinar, but you know, this week or in the next 2 weeks ideally, is update your resume first thing, and update also your portfolio. If you're a creative, if you're interior designer, if you're a designer, if you're a fashion designer, an illustrator, etc. Update those materials. There are a lot of great professional guides that you can find. We have a lot of professional guides through our program, but also if you want to take a look at the creative staffing agencies, they have a lot of like really cool resume and portfolio guidelines. I'll give an example for the US. You should check Creative Circle and Artisan Talent. Those two websites have very cool resources on how to build your resume and how to build your portfolio. So make sure that that's fully updated, like it looks flawless. And what I would recommend is have one resume per job application, almost, okay? If you're targeting different type of job opportunities, if you're targeting, for example, graphic designer opportunities or content creator opportunities, Although those might be shared skills, those are not the same positions. So make sure to look back at your resume and try to link all the words and the keywords to make sure that they are related to the job opportunity that you're applying for, because that's going to really allow you to kind of, look like you're more specialized, right? Which is very important. It's also a good excuse for you when you're talking to mentors like professors or potential alumni or people in your field. Show them your portfolio, show them your resume. Tell them like, hey, listen, I'd love to pick your brain and like, have your input on my resume right now or my portfolio. I know you've got tremendous experience in the field, and it'd be really, really helpful for me to kind of have your eyes on it, right? Great excuse to connect with people if you haven't connected with them for a little while. So update your materials. Second thing is build your online presence. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. People are going to Google you, okay? If you're applying for a job, I am going to Google you. All the recruiters will Google you. This is just how it works. So at this point in your career, even if you're a student, still a student, or if you just graduated, I still want to see a few things popping out. First thing that I want to see is your LinkedIn. That is an absolute must. Make sure that you are really, refining your LinkedIn with a great photo, with a short blurb about who you are, with all your job opportunities and or previous internships or volunteering opportunities, whatever you've got. It needs to be out there and it needs to be explained, not just the company and the date. That gives me nothing. I want to see the tasks and responsibilities that you've had in the position. Think about it as your full resume that is online, and start connecting with other people, okay? If your LinkedIn right now has like 15 connections, that's not good, because that's showing that you've got no traction on LinkedIn, that you're not really active. So start connecting with people that you might know, friends at school, again, professors, alumni, potential recruiters, family, friends that are in the field. Like, start building up your connections so that it looks a little bit more legit, if I can say it this way. I'll give an example. As the CEO of ArtBound Initiative, which is supposed to be a program that connects people with creative companies, if I had 150 connections, that would not fly. I need to have at least 800, 900 connections in the field to showcase that I'm actually are connected, and I know it seems superficial in some ways, but it is not. It's important that you're showcasing that you actually are active on this platform, because that's where it's at. Whether, if you're an artist, maybe a little bit less, but for all the other fields, fashion, film, design, interior design, all of those, definitely where it's at. So LinkedIn is a must. Now, if you're a designer, if I'm Googling you, I want to see, obviously, your website. A PDF portfolio is not enough anymore. You need a website. So I want to see your website. I want to see your LinkedIn, obviously, as I mentioned. I want to see your professional Instagram. I want to see your Behance account. I want to see your Dribbble account. I want to see basically all the platforms that other designers have that you should be having too. Even if you have 2 or 3 projects on your portfolio and you're still a student, it is worth building those platforms and making sure that you've got those 2 and 3 projects that are implemented with the same branding, okay? As a designer or a creative, whether you're in fashion, whether you're in interior design or in advertising, you are a brand, okay? So your brand needs to be reflected on all those websites. If you're in film, for example, obviously you need a Vimeo. You might want to think about having a YouTube channel as well, if needed. So again, think about what your industry needs and be out there, because if I am looking at your profile for a junior position, I'm Googling you and I'm seeing already a few links about you that are consistent. I'm like, this person is on top of it and is on top of their game. And I will most likely look more at their profile than at the other person who's got no LinkedIn profile or LinkedIn profile with no photo and 5 connections and nothing else on them. Finally, on this slide, another thing that I think you guys should do right now is, if you have 10 or 15 companies that you dream to work with, ideally stalk them. The first thing is stalk them. I'm saying that meaning follow them on LinkedIn, follow them on Twitter, follow them on Instagram, follow them on every platform you can find. The reason why is that, first of all, you'll be the first ones to know if there's job opportunities that are available. And then second thing is, you're going to see the piece of content that they put out. And that's going to be super helpful once you apply for a job, because you can give some context, okay? a lot of recruiters always tell me it's hilarious because I'm getting so many of those emails for job applications that says like, hey, I really want to work for your company because it's awesome. And I'm like, okay, great. You know, you didn't even do your job. If you send me an email and tell me I want to work for your company because your values really align with mine, and I feel like the latest articles that you've posted on the current trends of the industry really shifted my perspective. You know what I mean? I'm just doing like some talk right now. But if you are able to relate your application to the most updated contents and projects that the companies are doing, then it's going to show that you really are interested in the company. So that's a really great way to do that. And make sure that you stand out when you email people at the moment, because a lot of people are emailing, a lot of people are applying. Maybe it's like a really punchy subject line. If you got introduced or recommended by someone, make sure that it's in the subject line, job application recommended by Professor X, for example, if a professor recommended you. And then, maybe you share a YouTube link of a short 60-second video of you saying why you think you can bring something to the table. If you're in advertising, for example, I think advertising agencies love those types of applications of people that are like coming in with a cool video with motion graphic works on it, like something that's super engaging, because it's showcasing that you're able to create content, right? So try to think about a way to make your application stand out as much as you can. And then finally, before I stop it for a Q&A again, make it personal. Okay, a lot of you guys, I'm sure, when you're applying for jobs or internships, you are applying with a template. Mostly you've kind of, a little template about you and etc. But if you knew how many recruiters have told us that, I don't know, their name was Lucy and they received an email saying like, Dear Jones, or, addressed to somebody else because somebody forgot that they were copy pasting the previous email, or like they're working at Chanel and somebody's telling them, I really want to work for LVMH, like really things that sound stupid, but that are happening on a day-to-day when you're like doing things fast with templates. Forget the template, use it if you want as a core, but you need to really work to, again, make each application personal. Yes, it takes more time, but it's not going to work if you fire off 100 applications a day and just kind of like shooting arrows in every direction. If you are taking some time of the day to apply, then do it well, because that's going to be your best way of actually getting called back for a potential interview. So Kanya, I'll stop it here for a minute. Do we have any questions about all this?
Yes, there are several questions. There's one from Huskilis asking, is it a good idea to try and switch to another creative field right after graduating during this crisis, or should I stick to what I've been trained in for the last 3 years?
So that's a great question. And Kanya, if you don't mind, I'm going to answer that in in a couple slides, because actually I think that you need to be able to pivot if you need to. If your industry is extremely impacted, you might want to be pivoting. But I'm going to address that exact question in a little bit. So let me get back to it, Kanya. If you don't mind, put a note on your end so that we can get back to it then.
Of course. Yeah. So there's one from Sora asking, is there any specifications to find a good association to join? They just Googled several things, but they're not sure which ones to join.
So I think that you can call them up, like specifically if those are associations where you're paying and there's a membership, call them up. Like ask them, hey, I want to join your association, but tell me a bit more about the membership. What do I get? Like email people before you join anything. Like this is their job to answer you. And specifically if some of those networks are paying networks, then of course get on a call with them and tell them like, what are the benefits? The same way that people who would call our program, which is also a paid program, they would tell us, okay, what are the benefits? And we have to answer them, right? Because if you're paying for a service, then you need to understand exactly what you're gaining from it and what are going to be the added value, for you to actually join this membership. So I think contact the people, even if it's unpaid, and even if you don't have, and it's just like an association that's kind of like a non-for-profit association, which exists as well. Contact people, explain to them like, I really want to, join your network, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about your programming and what you're doing in the industry. And that way you can kind of focus your efforts this way.
Great. There's one question from Carrie. asking, is there an advantage to contacting individuals who are also out of work at the moment? For example, senior production managers who will be recruiting when the film and TV industry is back up and running?
For sure, for sure. Never forget that, sometimes it takes time to build a relationship. Okay, so never forget that, like, you can talk to people. Even that's why I'm saying, even for recruiters who are not currently recruiting and who are maybe some of them out of work, what you're doing right now is you're building for the long run. Okay, you're not gonna you need to leave for tomorrow, obviously, but for a little bit longer than that. So if you have relationships with senior producers in TV or film, which obviously right now is stopped at the moment, take the time to ask them how they are. How are you handling the situation? I'm sure it must be crazy to be out of work right now. Like, I'd love to catch up and just hear a bit more about your thoughts on what's going on, and when things will be reopening. I'm just really trying to get a better understanding on, how can I move forward, right? And this is great because maybe you don't have anything to ask them at the moment, but you're starting to build a relationship. And once you do that, you can contact them again in 2-3 months and being like, hey, how's it going? um, are you back at work? If so, like, do you know of any opportunities that I could target? So yes, do not think networking is not only contacting people when you need a favor. You also need to just be there, just as a relationship, obviously not with recruiters or companies, but maybe at least with mentors and industry connections that you have. Start to build up deeper relationships, because that's how you're going to get the jobs. It's not just on one email that is going to work out.
Great. There's one more question from Kampara asking, is it a good idea to start sending out mails to companies based in your home country to ask for unpaid 2-day internship possibility? I want to gain more experience right now and build my network, but the circumstances are hard. In case it is a good idea, how do I reach out in the best possible way?
So definitely, if you are able right now, if you're hanging out in the summer and nothing's happening because nobody's traveling, like, check out if there's any remote opportunities, even unpaid. Right now, take what you can get, because what you want to be doing right now is beefing up your skills, beefing up your resume, right? Trying to think about, beefing up also your relationships with the company. So I think it's definitely worth looking in, internships within your own countries right now, if you guys are not thinking of going international, and kind of staying in your city or in your country. For sure, it is never too early anyway to be doing internships. Internships are the best way possible to refine what you want to be doing. A lot of people have a vague idea of what the job is, but until you're at an office doing it, you don't really have an idea of what the job is. So I think you should definitely be applying for internships and just be genuine, saying, hey, I'm really looking to gain more opportunity right now, and I was wondering if you guys are offering any remote type of internships or in-person internships. Here's my resume and my CV. I'd love to, here is my resume and my portfolio, for example, if you're creative. I would really appreciate to hear if there's any opportunities available, and of course talk a little bit more about the company as well and why you're interested and excited to work for them. So go ahead and email, again, nothing to lose. And then also ask around, start asking around professors, again, alumni, friends, other connections, to kind of see if they know anybody who you might be able to talk to for a potential internship or even a shadowing opportunity. So I hope that answers it. Kanya, I'm going to move forward on the next slide, so that way we can stay in the timing.
Okay, sounds good.
So we've asked, just going back to the data for a couple minutes, we basically asked our companies what's going on right now, who got fired, who got hired by seniority. So you can see it's not great. You can see that 44% of the companies registered a massive decrease for juniors, and then even worse for interns, 60% of them. So nobody's hiring at the moment. You can see it here, it's like very little, but most of the people are laying off. So that's not really good, obviously, for us, which is why I'm trying to give you as many advice as possible on how to kind of navigate this. We did ask them the question as well for the future, what's going on in 6 months or 12 months. So it's a little bit better. You can see here that in average, 30% of the companies have registered an increase. So that means that they're going to be hiring again. You can see still that they will be layoffs, and people will still keep firing people on a regular basis. But in terms of junior and interns, it's looking a little bit better, at least better than for mid-level and senior people. So that's exciting. We asked them as well in terms of departments. Are there any departments that are kind of more impacted than others? You know, whether it's like the sales department or marketing or design. And honestly, we saw that most of it is kind of an average of 25% here. I know you guys see here that the design and content creation department is a little bit more than the others, but actually I think it's just a bit biased for this specific survey because all of our companies are creative. So you can see that a lot of them, for example, do not have an IT department, which is why this one looks a little bit more than the others. So I'd say in 25% of the companies have registered basically layoffs across all those departments. And then we asked them about the future for the same question, what is going on? And you can see here that it's a little bit better. 22% of the companies are showing that they will be rehiring within those departments. You can see still that there are layoffs, but you can see here like business is going to be rehiring, sales as well, you know, marketing and comm and PR, design and content creation. So that's really interesting for us to see because it means that in 6 to 12 months, although it's going to be tough, it's still going to happen, and people will be hiring. So what are our recommendations based on that? Okay, recruitment is going to be tight. So we're seeing here that they're going to be recruiting way less, keep firing, but still they are going to be targeting a bit more interns and juniors. So what you guys should be doing right now is become jack of all trades, okay? Maybe some recruiters will be recruiting like one person for 2 jobs. It's totally possible that it might happen. So my recommendation to you guys is add new skills, okay? We're all at home most of the time. There's so many stuff available online that's free, some stuff that you need to pay for, training. Add more skills. If you're a designer, for example, add animation, like that's what is in demand right now. Add motion graphics, that's what people are looking for. If you can also add creative writing and a little bit of video editing and like learning how to film well enough, then if you can do all those skills, then you can actually target also content creation type of positions, which are super in demand right now. If you're coming in from the communication or marketing type of majors, maybe you can try to learn more about sales and CRM, which are customer relationship management systems. Maybe you can learn a bit more about digital marketing, for example, understanding how Google AdWords or analytics or Facebook adverts work, right? Those are tangible skills that if you add that to your skill set, you can target a wider job opportunities. If you are in film and you're a producer, maybe you add some video editing. I'm sure that's going to help as well to be able to kind of separate yourself from others. If you are a video editor, maybe you can add some VFX, special effects and other technical skills. So bottom line is, try to think about right now where you are. If you're in fashion, if you're in interior design, wherever you are, try to think, is there another skill that maybe I could add that would give me a little bit more of an edge, of a competitive edge, right? And go ahead and do it now and learn it, because I think that recruiters are going to be looking for rock stars right now. So if you can show them that, yes, you are a designer, but you also have a passion for photography and you can also video edit, okay, you know, that's somebody that I want to get in my company because they're going to be able to wear multiple hats. So that's number one. And then the second thing is, if you are a recent grad right now, I'm sure some of you guys have already finished their studies and are just looking for opportunities at the moment or are about to be looking for opportunities. My advice to you is target both junior positions, but also don't disregard internships. Honestly, I know that a lot of you guys are like, no, I graduated, I'm not doing an internship, I'm starting a job. You know, if it was another time, I would have told you like, okay, go for it and try it out. But in this moment, as I mentioned, any opportunity is a good opportunity. It is better for you to be doing an internship, even if it's part-time and you can find another part-time gig that's paying, or you can try to find a paid internship, which a lot of them also, not a lot of them, but several of the big companies offer paid internships. So you can target that, but don't disregard And also don't forget that internships are a great tool for recruitment, okay? Like a lot of the people are actually getting hired after their internships, and a lot of the recruiters are testing out their interns to see if they can take them on full time. So it is not the time for you to be picky and for you to be like, oh no, I'm not, you know, I'm not going to downgrade or anything like that. You are not downgrading. You are only adding more skills and more experience to your profile, which is what you need right now. And then finally, don't hesitate to freelance. A lot of juniors are a little bit scared of freelancing, but it's a really cool thing to do, freelancing, because you can work with several clients, you can gain more experience, you can develop your portfolio. And of course, not everybody can freelance. You know, I know if you're in marketing, you know, most likely there's not too many freelancing opportunities. But if you are in design or in any technical types of fields, there are a lot of freelancing opportunities, and you can also, you know, target the staffing agencies, the recruiting agencies to see, because they're always sharing freelance opportunities. So don't hesitate to try to get that, because first of all, it can be money, and it can be a great way to get in the company. If you're a freelancer and you're doing a killer job with the company, they might hire you. So definitely something to look at. I'm going to go through the last few slides really quickly, and then afterwards, I think I'll just open it up completely to the Q&A, so you guys can keep asking the questions as I'm speaking. So Kanya, I remember earlier you were asking a question from one of our attendees about pivoting, basically about should I go towards another industry? My
Correct, yeah.
answer is yes. If your company and your industry right now is insanely impacted, and when I'm saying that, for example, if you're in the event industry, obviously, or the performance industry like theater, or like anything that's kind of like basically not happening because, you know, people are not going to be in crowds anymore for a little while, pivot and adapt. It's not the end of the world, and you don't have to go away from it forever. There are still some companies that are hiring. I was making a joke earlier about Zoom and Netflix and Amazon, but I'm not kidding. Actually, there are some companies, even though with the COVID-19 crisis, that are actually booming, and that some of them profited as well from this, you know, unfortunate situation. So who's hiring at the moment? Anything relating to animation and interactive media, definitely something to look into. For a lot of you guys who are designers, think about adding animation, motion design, and those types of skills, because a lot of the animation studios are still doing a lot of things. Because right now, think about the fact that brands and films and everything cannot shoot physical productions. So a lot of it is done in post-production, right? So a lot of it is special effects and stuff like that. So a lot of animation and interactive media opportunities. Podcasting is also an industry that's booming. Look into it if you're like into writing, or if you're into like even producing. I think Audible, for example, which is a company from Amazon, which is specialized in podcasts, they're hiring a lot. Anything relating to streaming, you know, Netflix, Hulu, HBO Go, you know, Apple TV, all of those ones, they are constantly hiring, because believe me, we are probably all finishing up Netflix right now and all those shows. Like we almost have no content to watch anymore because we've been for 4 months, you know, stuck in our house. So content is going to start, you know, getting back very soon, and like they're going to be producing a lot very soon and very fast. So for sure there'll be opportunities in there, whether you're in design, whether you're producing, in script, in development, you should definitely look into it. Social media is massive right now, you know, so if you are in advertising, that's a bit more traditional advertising, think about shifting for social media agencies, you know, that are producing like content on TikTok or Instagram, because that is where the brands are communicating at the moment. There's also esports and gaming. To be honest, I'm not really a pro on that one, but I do know that apparently there's a lot of opportunities in there at the moment. And then finally, online merchants, right? I mentioned Amazon, but I'm also thinking about fashion, for example, like ASOS or Farfetch, or like the Zara.com, all those big like fashion retailers that are online. They're still making money because people are at home stuck and buying clothes online. So those are the industries that you should look into potentially pivoting if you're not having any chance or any luck with your current industry. And you will be building skills that are transferable back. You're not in a generation right now where you need to have one career. That's not how your life's going to work. You're going to be doing something for 3-4 years. You're going to move for 2 years somewhere else, and maybe so you can pivot and you can change and you can transfer back. It will just make your background more interesting, in my opinion, if you are able to adapt and pivot. So before I open it up to the Q&A, I just want to tell you really quickly about who I am and who we are, so that you guys know who has been talking to you for the past hour. So ArtBound, the company that I co-founded, is basically here to help students and recent grads navigate the highly competitive job market, specifically in the creative fields. What we do is that we have different types of programmings. We have one-on-one coaching that is online, where we do resume review, portfolio review, job interview prep as well, because we know that nailing a job interview is a very difficult thing to do, and it's really an art form. So we do a whole preparation about that. We do also workshops about how to create your network from scratch. So some of the stuff that I talked about today, but really much deeper and more targeted to the person who's calling. We do also some workshops on online presence and self-promotional skills, and then finally on essential business skills. What are the recruiters looking for when they're hiring interns or juniors? And then finally, when traveling is going to be a thing again, we also offer internships. We offer internships in New York, London, Berlin, and Hong Kong, and we focus on facilitating international travel. So right now we are enrolling people for early 2021 because it's in the program where you have to apply very much in advance. So if you get into our program, you get a guaranteed internship in your field, only in the creative areas. You get all the personalized coaching that I just mentioned. And then also we handle visa, insurance, all the logistical aspects, and do a lot of networking and events. So that's a little bit more about who we are. Now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And thank you all for attending the webinar. And I want to stay here with you guys for a few minutes so that we can answer any questions that you guys might have. So Kanya, shoot. Do we have any questions?
Yes, we do have several. So there's one from Sora asking, for the creative industries, would you suggest to have an online portfolio or just physical photos like PDFs?
Online, website, forget about the PDF. Forget it. I mean, have it if you want, it's good, but like recruiters, what they're looking for right now is really online. Whether you're in interior design, in fashion, of course, you can have a beautiful physical portfolio. If you're coming in for an interview and you're a photographer, for example, like having a gorgeous physical portfolio to show is really a plus, but you need a website. I mean, until you get to the point where you can show up in person, you need to have your work on a website. There's a lot of great, website platforms like Squarespace, Wix, there are, Adobe Portfolio, so many of them that are super accessible, and pay for it, of course. Like, don't get the free version where it says like Wix site or Squarespace. Like, that's an investment. It's your brand, so it needs to be like, for me, if I was a creative, it would have to be www.laurabennegadi.com. They cannot be like a Wix or anything. That really degrades your brand. So make the investment, pay for the membership for Squarespace or Wix, and make a website. Absolutely.
Awesome. Hope that answered your question, Sora. There's one person asking about your opinion about the dots. I believe it's like a website, like a LinkedIn, but for creative professionals.
Yeah. Well, I think like all of those platforms, there's a lot of them, like the dots. There's some of them that are like more industry specific, for example, in music, like Stereotech, like all of those, be on it. Again, the more links you have on your name that are relating to your industry, the better. So if there is if you are able to create a profile on other types of directories, for sure, by all means, go and do it, but then make sure that you're keeping track so that all of those are regularly updated. Every time you get a new job, it needs to be updated on everywhere, just make sure that it's not like something that you created once and then you leave it alone for like 2 years.
Great, hope that answered your question, Chelsea. There's one from Serena asking, what do we apply for now when it is not long enough before university starts at the end of September for an internship?
For summer internships, you mean? Sorry, Kenya.
Yes, yeah.
So, to be honest, it's already mid-June, right? So it's a bit late to be applying for summer internships technically, but I think you can go for it because a lot of the companies were in panic mode right now. So they didn't really think about, recruiting at the moment. So I think go ahead and ask for it. And if anything, you can tell them I'd love to have the opportunity to intern for you this summer. And if not, I'm also available part-time during the fall. for example, right? So you can position yourself. If it doesn't work through the summer, maybe you get the opportunity to intern for them in the fall part-time, which is awesome as well. So, you know, definitely worth the shot. Even if I think it might be a little bit tricky, you can kind of dedicate this, you know, it's Tuesday. For all of us, you've got the whole week dedicated this week to like send out a few applications and see where it takes you.
Great. So there's one from Laura saying that she's an artist. Having a teaching qualification under my belt could be good for me in the future, but my heart isn't in teaching in the near future. Is it a bad move to go ahead and do that course now to future-proof plans? Or is now a good time to keep pushing with portfolio and looking for artist residencies?
I think it's a great question. A lot of artists and a lot of creatives are also looking for teaching positions as like a stability type of thing, you know, to be able to kind of have money, because as an artist, it's not an easy thing to be making money right away. What I'd say is you have two different ways to go about it. I think in any case, you got to keep pushing for residencies and stuff like that. You can try to get the training for teaching, or you can think about maybe looking into positions that are more in the business side of the art world. So curating, for example, or working for galleries, or working for like, you know, art spaces and stuff, because that could also be a really great strategy, because then you really are in the industry and you're actually making the connections with the people that can help you as an artist. So I would definitely say, I know a lot of artists go towards the teaching route, which is great, but if it was me and I was an artist, I would definitely go the gallery route, or like, you know, the arts administration route as a side gig, because that would give me all the connects that I want and that I need. And then afterwards I could like hustle to make my, you know, to make my art known by those people who are actually making the decisions, you know, on which artist becomes successful. So that would be my recommendation, is maybe don't disregard as well, like potentially getting some experience in the more of the admin / business side of the art world. And I think if you're able to do some teaching as well, like a course, then of course, by all means, you know, if you can add qualifications right now, it might be the good moment to do it.
Cool. Hope that answered your question, Lauren. There's one from Eliza asking about the internships, about the ArtBound Initiative programs. Are they unpaid or paid?
So that depends. You know, we usually don't like to overpromise and underdeliver, because it's not in our hands. We pair our participants with different companies, right? So we have companies that pay, and we also have companies that don't pay. So what we say to all of our participants is budget as unpaid, because we prefer for you to be surprised as opposed to be disappointed. In the creative fields, there's a lot of unpaid internships still. And that's the truth. The reason why is because it's so competitive that honestly, if you don't want it, they don't care. There's like 100 other people that want it. It's such an industry where you have to kind of pay your dues and stuff like that. So budget as unpaid. And if it is unpaid, then understand what is the investment for you and how you're going to get your money back. And that means like making sure that, you know, you're developing some solid skills, making sure that you're building all the relationships with the people in your office that might be able to, you know, hire you later on, making sure that you understand all the templates, all the professional tools that you can use moving forward. So I think that's, you know, that's a way for you to kind of like think about it as an investment.
Cool. There are two more questions, Laura. So yeah. One from Nicole asking, in the art management and art curatorship field, what do you think is the best way to find networks and contacts?
I mean, for anything that's gallery related and arts curation, like definitely one thing, start again. Go to gallery openings all the time, go to all the art fairs, like show face to all those events, because that's like where everybody is from the field. And then definitely there's a lot of like associations like that exists for fine arts and the contemporary art industry. So like join, you know, be a member of the museums, like, you know, there's a lot of like young memberships like for students and stuff like that, because then you show up to all their events, whether they're virtual, whether they're in person. I think that's a great way to go about it, is really making sure that you're joining those associations, but also those like events as well, because the art world, same thing for fashion, for example, is like those types of industries is very much about showing face.
Awesome. There's one from Diana asking, in terms of developing a range of skills, what is your opinion on online courses? Do they have sufficient value?
I think, you know, I think it's like it's the kind of thing where you need to be entrepreneurial in the sense that like I think the online courses probably are not going to be as valuable as being in class teaching with somebody like really looking after you. But I think if you're taking it seriously and you're able to kind of complement that with maybe your own research, I think that's good enough. You know, like it's not going to be an ideal world. Maybe you don't have 3 years again or 4 years to lose in doing a new bachelor. But maybe there's like a 3 weeks intensive course that you can do or something that you can do every day to kind of like teach you how to do illustration or how to do animation. So, you know, I think it's really about how you envision it and how you like go about it. And I think that maybe what you can do on top of that is if you find some people and peers that are maybe in that field, maybe you can try to tell them like, can I shadow you for free and I assist you, you know? If you kind of teach me a little bit, then I can assist you on projects and do like the little nitty gritty work for them. Maybe that can also be a great way to learn from other people that, you know, they don't need to be so senior. They can be just people that are actually have a good knowledge on the technical software that you're trying to get.
Awesome. There's one from Sora asking, what are the key online platforms to be on at the moment for artists?
I think for artists is definitely like, you know, your website for sure. And then like maybe if you're selling stuff like Cargo Collective has some stuff, you know, have some stuff as well. Like, you know, at one point when you'll get represented and stuff, you'll have to be on Artsy, on Artnet, on all those online auction, you know, platforms. But I think for now it would be like probably your website. Try to see if you can apply for awards or for residencies, because then they can give you like your name can be on there. You can apply for competitions and stuff. That would be my recommendation. But obviously I'm not an artist, so you know my knowledge is a little bit limited on the exact things. But I think, you know, bottom line is LinkedIn, website. If you're selling, maybe Cargo Collective could be a potential place, and also like trying to apply to as many you know, residencies and also just like competitions as possible to have your name started to be listed on the nominees or the participants of those types of competitions and awards. Any other questions, Kanya?
Awesome. There are no more questions yet as of now.
I think I see one, sorry, that's saying reminder of my question. Is it a good idea? Oh, sorry, that was maybe earlier. No, that there was somebody who said
Yes.
reminder of my question. Is it a good idea to switch to another creative field?
Yeah, they were talking about the pivoting to a new in the industry.
Got it.
The one that you addressed, yeah.
Got it. I would say definitely, just to kind of go back, because I'm seeing here from illustration, graphic design to creative advertising. I think your skills are very valid as a designer. Okay, so I think you don't need to switch. You don't need to switch like right away. I think you can just try to look at maybe stuff that are a bit more animation focused, or like agencies that are a little bit more social driven. When I'm saying social, I mean social media, TikTok, Instagram, content creation. But I think you can stick to your technical skills, because when you have a technical skill, it's always a little bit more stable, because there will always be jobs, you know, on that side of things. And then, yes, sorry, Kenya, I'm totally taking your job right now. I'm just seeing somebody that's asking if the recording is going to be shared. Yes, I'm recording this call, and I'll share the link with all of you guys afterwards via email, so that you guys can see it again if needed. And also feel free to contact us. Like I'll ask Kanya also to put here our info. You know, we have like an email, a website, obviously, artboundinitiative.com, but also you can contact us through email at info@artboundinitiative.com. And feel free to follow us also on Instagram. We post a lot of stuff there, whether it's like, you know, creative works of other artists, but also resources on career, companies that we work with. So we have a pretty cool IG, so go ahead and check it out, and you can always DM us for questions over there. We're always happy to help, you know, as much as we can, specifically in this crazy times right now. So guys, we are, I think, at the end of this webinar. Okay, I'll take one last question from Gigi, who is saying, would you recommend creating work specifically in the style of the company you're interested in as an opening to network and potentially landing a job? No, I don't recommend you to creating work specifically towards the company. I do recommend, however, to create a resume that's very specific towards the position. that you're applying for. And in terms of your work, it just needs to be really well laid out so that, you know, you can exactly see what the skills are. You know, if you're doing branding, if you're doing like, you know, digital, if you're doing like, if you're a photographer, you know, what type of photography you're doing. I need as a recruiter to be able to go on your portfolio and in 10 seconds understand what you're about. Of course, it helps if you can create more and more work that are relating to the types of companies that you're targeting just as a whole, but I don't think it's worth your time like to create a specific, you know, every time a new project, you know, every time you apply somewhere. I think it's a bit better to target your efforts on your resume to make sure that it's very much tailored. So is the link in private? Oh, sorry. So Serena is asking about the link for the webinar. It's not going to be it's not going to be is the link, if the link is private, does that affect people looking at it? No, it's not going to be. It's just going to be a private YouTube link, but if you click on it, you'll be able to share it. It's just that we're not going to blast it. It's just going to be unlisted, but you can see it, you can share it with people if you want, and you can rewatch it anytime. It'll be out there on our YouTube channel. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for attending. I really hope that this was helpful. And, you know, if anything that I can say, you know, finally is just like, in the end of the day, it's competitive, but if you're doing a bit more than the others, you will get the opportunities. It's really just about being proactive and changing that mindset. And, you know, trust me, if you keep doing that, like, don't let people discourage you, okay? Like, things are going to happen, even if it's going to be impacted. You can do it, and it's just about perseverance and also about strategy and using your efforts in the right way. So thanks so much. Thanks for all the really, really nice comments for you. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. And I'm going to stick around here for another couple of minutes to let you go. But, you know, have a great rest of your night and a great rest of your day for the UK and Europe. And stay in touch, of course. Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys. All right, I'm going to end the meeting now. Thank you all.